Welcome to Sweet Tea Hospitality. I'm Karen Conrad, and I'm joined today by my amazing husband, Dave.
Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you've joined us for this very special episode.
In this, we really show people how to make a house a home. There's a lot of secret sauce in here.
The secret sauce is going to get downloaded.
It is, and we're going to share with you the details, those little details that make all the difference in really bringing out the character and beauty of the home.
Yes.
You do not want to miss this. Thank you for joining us today for Sweet Tea Hospitality, where we bring inspiration to your heart and your home. I'm so excited about today's program. I'm Karen Conrad, and I am joined by my wonderful husband, Dave.
Well, speaking of wonderful, you're so wonderful. I was sitting here thinking while we're looking at the sage right in front of us, and this is Texas sage. It grows so well in this climate. But you're another sage. You're such a woman of wisdom, and you're such a person that allows the creativity of what God's doing in your life to just come about, vision to reality.
Oh my goodness, and we tease because I do sometimes, or most of the time, I have the vision for this stuff, but you know what? He's my reality. Those boxes that come from Wayfair, they're like, oh my goodness, can we do this with the landscaping? You name it, we couldn't do it without us working together.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing for husbands to realize that many times your wife is very creative and she has this great vision, but we help bring it to reality.
You absolutely do.
So we keep that in mind when we're working with that little Allen wrench and we're trying to get that impossible screw together. Okay, we're bringing something to reality here. It's worked so much better.
Oh, it does. And we actually had a lot of fun on this project. It's really where the property became the coastal cottage. We envisioned it along the way. I had the color scheme and I was, purchasing things that I thought would come together. But really it's about how to pull it together, where things go, like even placement on things. It's the details that really bring the beauty out in the home. And so Dave, I'd just love you to share, because we've been through this process for a few months, and this was our first renovation together.
Right.
Although we've done some things in our home here in South Lake. So what are some things that you could say, this is what I learned, that you want to pass on?
Sure. One of the things I learned is you start in a place that you want to maintain a particular heart or idea throughout the process.
Yeah.
So one of the things we decided was we were going to stay in a place of joy.
Yes.
We just told each other we're not sure exactly what we're doing, but we know we can have fun.
Yes.
And we can do this together. So I think the way we started and maintained that place of joy and honor and respect was really important, because sometimes, let's face it, you hit question marks and you're like, what? Or it's hot, or you feel like you're working a long time.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, one thing we did is we really built in fun adventures along the way. We would go out to eat. Like if we were traveling down to work really hard, we always went somewhere nice to eat. And then you always kept things like, you brought worship music, fun music into the property as we were working. And Dave, you just have that heart about you that just brings peace and joy to any situation. And also, we really bring God into our projects, into our home, into any renovation. And so will you share with them one of the foundational scriptures that we had for this renovation?
Absolutely. From the very beginning, we looked at this scripture in Proverbs, that it was so specific for us to a building process. And the proverb says, by wisdom a house is built, by understanding it's established, and by knowledge every room is filled with precious and pleasant riches. So think about this. Wisdom is kind of like the architectural big picture, what's it going to look like, but you have to get understanding. You have to talk to the contractors and look at magazines or look for ideas, research, and you get understanding of how you're going to actually carry this out. Well, then the fun part as well is knowledge fills every room with precious, pleasant riches. And think about your own life and what's precious to you. What's a pleasant richness of your home? Well, first of all, it's the presence of God. It's that peace. It's that place where people walk in and they feel like, hey, this is really nice. I like this. So the knowledge of filling each room, and you think about your children or you think about your master bedroom, how each room, by knowledge, because you think about how is this room going to reflect the presence of the Lord, the peace of God, love, and family. That was a big verse for us.
It was huge, and we're just so excited to share this with you. So we hope that you are inspired and you are blessed by this episode of the Coastal Cottage. Hospitality starts on the outside of the home. I like to look at a space and decide, like, how do I want to feel what I'm on in this situation on the front porch? And I want to feel that I'm with family in a nice small town. I want to feel comfortable, and I want to be able to visit with friends. And so that's how we made the decision on keeping the swing, adding the Adirondack chairs, the pillows, because I wanted to see myself sipping some of that iced tea on a hot summer night on that front porch. I'm sharing my secret sauce with Sweet Tea Hospitality with you in giving you all the tips of finding the products and the best prices on things, where I found them, how we place them, so that you can take these ideas and apply them in your own home. So we're going to start with the exterior. The dark porch really closed off the entryway and really back to that feeling of hospitality. When people walked up to the home, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, is this like a haunted house? It was just so dark and uninviting. And so we really assessed what needed to be done with that. And it didn't take much. We kept the swing, we stained it in a dark walnut to match the sealskin trim. We put together the IKEA dark walnut Adirondack chairs. I was so excited that I found these because they matched the stain perfectly. And then I found pillows in an Afghan at Home Goods. I wanted to keep the outside fairly neutral, not add a lot of color, because really the pop was going to be in the colors of the planters and the flowers that we added. I found the planter next to the steps, which is where the old rickety rail used to be at Home Goods. It was on clearance, and what was really cool about this is it had a built-in space to put a smaller planter in on the top, and it went beautifully with the flower cedar boxes that I had Dave and Levi build for me that went under the windows. And then the faux plants were half price at Hobby Lobby, and I was really careful to choose ones that didn't look fake, that they actually looked real and subtle. And I tricked a lot of people with those, so I think we succeeded with that. Then there was the orange brick that looked, well, old, and it was from the 1960s, so it was very dated. So there is houses like these everywhere, and I wanted to make sure that this had character and it stood out and yet felt very warm and inviting. So I started with that seal skin that we talked about that we use for the trim, and I even use that for the front door. Then the alabaster white next to that, and together those two, if I only went with those two colors, would have been too harsh in my opinion. So I searched out and found another color called elephant ear, and that's what I chose for the shutters, so that it wasn't harsh to look at, but it still had that farmhouse look. Let's go to the formal living room. This room is the place that we gather with guests and sometimes family members for holidays, and it's really all about creating a place for conversation. And that's why we designed this formal dining room to be a place where friends can gather together and family and just focus on each other by the fireplace and visit about the day. The formal living room was so long, narrow, and closed in when we first purchased the property. Going into the entryway, looking to the left, it almost looked like a tunnel. And I could tell that people didn't sit in there. They didn't use the formal dining. Maybe they did on holidays, but there was just something about the room that you just didn't even want to step into. Have you ever experienced that? I've even had some of the homes I've owned, I've had a room like that, and I've thought, boy, I need to do something about this. It just didn't feel comfortable. So one of the first things we had to do is we had to open up those walls, which I've described to you in previous episodes. But really, that was the first step to bring life into that room. There's just something about, just like in our lives, when we're closed off from things, it gets to be a small space and it gets to be kind of a dark space, not comfortable. So opening that up to the rest of the house made an incredible difference, and it felt like it had life in it, just even from that decision. This was so fun to decorate. So let's start with what we put at the foundation, which is a natural fiber rug that I got at Wayfair. I actually used that same rug in the family room to tie the two rooms together. And it really anchored the room. We can create spaces that feel like a room without a wall, and the area rug really accomplishes that. Then I found the 4 chairs for the conversation space from Wayfair. I added pillows on those from Kirkland's that had some texture and a natural look to them that I felt really fit in with the coastal cottage theme. The electric fireplace I got from Wayfair, and it was like a white painted shiplap look, which was perfect for the coastal cottage. Artwork above the fireplace was also from Wayfair, and some of the art was from Hobby Lobby. If you go to Hobby Lobby every other week, all their artwork is 50% off. So I always time my purchases there, and I go when everything is on sale that I'm looking for. I wanted to have a wicker shade, and I had a certain style in mind for the lamp, and the place that I found that was World Market. So I sent the guys there to pick that up, and it just creates sort of a nice, unique feel that's in line with coastal cottage that was close to the fireplace, and a reading lamp for one of the chairs. The round coffee table, I got that in that dark wood, and if you remember from the bathrooms, those shelves and the mantle, it tied into those. And those are the touches that I really want to impress upon you, is to stay with certain colors throughout the house. They can go from room to room, and that way everything just ties really well together. And I found that round table from Wayfair, and the guys put that together for me. Old books and tea set I got from an antique store that was on Main Street. I felt like I hit the jackpot. I had so much fun in this store, and I would look at the prices and think, my goodness, is this right? You can get some great deals. But there is just nothing like bringing in those old pieces to add character and warmth to a room. The vase and greens on the fireplace were both from Hobby Lobby, along with the sandpipers, which just make me smile, and the lantern. All of that came from Hobby Lobby. The vase and the ferns on the coffee table came from Kirkland's. I really appreciate the ladies at Kirkland's. I got to know them really well in the area because I was always shopping for this project, and sometimes you just need someone to help you see things different. I can get caught in a rut just like anybody else. And I loved how these ferns just created some airiness and a really nice look that was different from anything else that I had in the house. The plant behind the chair was from Hobby Lobby, and that again sort of helped anchor the room. And then finally, all the pillows on the chairs were from Kirkland's. And a little pointer there is that every weekend they have something on sale, and oftentimes they have a total percentage off your entire purchase. Not during the week, so if you can, save that for the weekend. I love formal dining rooms. You know, we all have memories from growing up, and one of my fond memories is when we would have holidays, even if it was just our family, my mom would set up the formal dining room for us, and it just always felt so special. So I've really carried that over into all my design. Anytime I'm sitting at a formal dining room, I just feel loved and valued, and that's what we want to make guests feel. Bringing that hospitality when you're sitting around the table for a special occasion. I didn't have a lot of space in this dining room, so I got a table which is in sort of a gray wood, and I got chairs from Wayfair. Notice part of the coastal cottage is kind of mixing and matching textures. So I chose the gray with the off-white upholstered chairs just to create some interest. The artwork was perfect. I found this at Home Goods. Remember that blue that I was sharing with you? This artwork had that exact blue along with some of the gold that goes with the fixture. Do you remember when I was sharing in the process to invite God along in the process? And this is a great example of that because I had been looking for the perfect artwork on that wall for weeks. A matter of fact, I brought multiple pieces of artwork in and tried it on that dining room wall and nothing worked. And then one day I was here right in South Lake at home and I just felt inspired to go to Home Goods. So I did because they get waves of artwork in, inventory of a lot of different things. And I started walking down the aisle of the artwork and I saw that picture. It's like, oh Lord, this is perfect. And so I bought that and I'm just really happy with that. I'm sure you can tell. And then the chargers, I actually put a lot of thought into these chargers. So there's gold in the light fixture, there's some gold in the artwork. And I didn't want to put gold on the table because this is the coastal cottage. I didn't want to go overboard with that. But I found these bamboo chargers at Kirkland's that had like a color of gold. And I added those. It was like the perfect touch. The vase and flowers were also from Kirkland's. This was one of those items I really wouldn't have thought of, but again, in the conversation with the ladies there, that black vase with the blue flowers tied right into the light fixture that was above it. The wine glasses were from Home Goods, but the small wine glasses with the gold was from that antique store that I've been talking about. The napkins and napkin rings were also from Kirkland's. Now I want to share with you the details in the entryway because remember, these rooms are close together and I wanted them to coordinate. So the table was from Wayfair. Do you see how it looks a little rustic? Also, I had to get it very narrow to fit in the space. The lamp was from Home Goods. The tray and votive candles were from Hobby Lobby. I want to give you a little trick on this. In my home in South Lake, I actually have votives and a tray that are from Pottery Barn, but I didn't have that budget for this house. So I did like my own knockoff on that, and I was able to get the tray half price, go into Hobby Lobby when the votives were half price, and create the same look and feel for a fraction of the price. The suitcases were from a local antique store, and do you see the blue that I was able to find? I was so excited in the store when I located that. And then finally, the artwork was actually a clearance item from Kirkland's, and the blues tied in beautifully with the formal dining room. Moving into the family room, we've got that same natural fiber rug that we had in the formal living room to create the space of how people would actually live in and sit in the family room. Family room is a really special place that we kind of retire at the end of the day. It's a place where we watch a movie, so it's really important that people are able to curl up, snuggle up by the fire, and really just enjoy being together. And we had some serious problems to think through with this family room. And the first one that you couldn't miss when you walked into the property is there were ceiling fans attached to the ceiling beams that came down, and literally, like, you would almost walk into them. Even for me, I'm 5'6", and at that point, anybody coming in there over 6 feet tall would definitely hit their head on those ceiling fans. And then the beams was a big question. I really didn't know what to do at first with those beams, and that was one of those things. I had to come back to the workshop and get my magazines out and start, Googling for pictures and images of different ceilings and beams, because do we keep them a wood color? Can I paint them the alabaster color? And I found an inspiration piece in the magazine that really helped me with that decision. And I did paint them alabaster and pulled those ceiling fans out, added those can lights, those recess lights, a light on the fireplace, and it completely changed the look of the room. Now, instead of walking in and feeling like the ceiling was, coming down on my head, now when I walk in the family room, it just felt like it was open. It's really amazing. Nothing structurally happened in that room, but the use of paint and just thinking through some of the obstacles that you see in the house and how to overcome it can really bring some nice solutions. This took me a while to figure out how to place things, and eventually what we ended up with is the 2 off-white chairs, and I pulled them apart to make it open. When you are putting a space together with furniture, you have to practically think through how somebody is going to get into that space to sit down. And then the love seat and the couch, I didn't have a lot of room. So this is one of the areas too I see people run into trouble, is they get too big of furniture pieces for the size of the room. Remember, we've got 8-foot ceilings. This is not a huge house, so you have to scale the furniture to actually fit in the room. And so I got all that from Wayfair. The artwork here was really tricky too, because we've got the orange brick. If I would take that coastal blue and put that against the brick, it would be too much contrast. So I went with more of a muted, really more of a black and white feel with just a touch of color, and with the sandpipers, it just was the perfect fit for the mantle. I did get those at Wayfair. We got a bigger picture that was a sandpiper theme as well, with a dark frame that helped to fill up a very long wall in the room. You want to pay attention to height as well. So I placed the picture just slightly above the love seat, so there wasn't a big gap when you looked in there, but also there was kind of an awkward space beside that. So what do we do with the space between the picture and the wall that the patio door is on? And so something that you can do is just add a ladder, which I actually got at Kirkland's, and the Afghan, which I actually got there too, added just a slight bit of color and texture, but more importantly, it gave some variance in height on that wall and made a huge wall that could look awkward into something that looks really nice and even cozy. I wanted a round shape in as the coffee table, but I didn't want a heavy piece. So I was able to find a wicker coffee table that just worked perfectly. It didn't demand a lot of attention. It kind of blended right into the rug, and I just happened to get that at Kirkland's as well. Again, those old books helps. I got some blue vases to tie in, plant on the fireplace, and then the pillows and Afghans are a really important part. So here is a design tip for you. When you buy furniture, buy neutral colored furniture, grays, tans, even browns, brown leathers if you like, kind of off-white, because you will eventually get tired of that red couch or that bright blue couch. But when you stay in the neutrals, you're able to bring color in pillows. And so that's what I did. I got all these pillows at Kirkland's. I got them with some blue, some design in them. And guess what? When the holidays come around, I can just switch those out and replace them with holiday pillows. And so when you want to go from a blue color in your home to green, you don't have to buy new furniture if you follow this. You just replace the accessories. And of course, that saves you a lot of money. We've got the lanterns to add a little candlelight to the fireplace, and all in all, it just created a beautiful space in this family room. Many people call the kitchen the heart of the home. And I would agree, that's the place where we love to gather together, and no matter how beautiful the rest of the house looks, it seems like whenever I have a dinner party or friends over, guess where we end up? Everybody is in the kitchen. This was probably the most awkward kitchen that I have ever seen, and that's actually saying a lot because I've been in a lot of properties. But we had a lot of different challenges that we needed to solve and big decisions that we had to make that really impacted our budget, the look and feel of the house. And so my goal with this was really to figure out how to redo this kitchen in a way that kind of didn't break the bank. You know, I didn't want to get into that $30,000, $40,000 renovation for the kitchen. And I also wanted to make sure that we kept some of the character of the home. The cabinets were that orangey stain oak and not looking good. And on top of that, we had a dated backsplash, a very dated countertop, but this is where you really get into the money. So what are we going to do? Are we going to replace the cabinets? And if so, how much would that cost? Or is there something I could do with the existing cabinets? And that's what I chose to do. They're solid oak, really, really nice cabinets, and we decided to paint them the alabaster color and then bring in the nickel knobs and the backsplash along with the updated countertop really gave us a look in that kitchen that I was very, very pleased with. One of the things you want to consider before you do a renovation, either in your home or maybe you're working on an investment property as well, is any change that we might want to make from a design perspective is going to have an impact on the infrastructure of the property. And by that, I mean the plumbing and the electrical. So I looked at that before I made decisions because I didn't want to have to move the plumbing. I didn't want to have to add a lot of electrical because what happens with that is you have to have permits for those types of moves and you can get into a lot of expense with adding those types of things. So we were able to keep within the existing infrastructure and just create beauty around the existing cabinets. The kitchen and dinette was really fun to put together. And again, I had to get out my measuring stick here because the space for the dinette is actually pretty small, and I wanted to make sure that the table that I put in there didn't make the whole room just look like it was overwhelmed with furniture. So I knew that I needed a 36-inch table, and I found one online after a lot of looking at World Market. So well, guess who I sent there to pick that up? You got it, Dave and Levi, and I'm really happy with it because it's kind of that washed wood as well that goes really well with the coastal cottage. We've got a vase that's an antique, bringing that old in with the new. Flowers that don't look overly artificial. That's one tip that I want to mention. When you use artificial flowers, one of the rules I go by is always use monochromatic. It seems like the minute you start mixing fake colors together in a vase, it just looks fake. Adding in some of that wood that goes with the mantle and a tray, just a nice vase and little spaces on the counter that feel welcome. And just overall, we brought in some of the warmth of the wood into the kitchen, and it just ended up to be this place that we felt was really comfortable and definitely the place where our family likes to hang out as we're getting ready for dinner. The master bedroom is such a special room, and it is really the place that we go to relax, to sleep, to retire, to connect with each other at the end of the day, and it's the place that we wake up the next morning. You know, hospitality is something we often think about for guests that come to our home, and it's very important, but also hospitality is in our homes when it's just us as a family. So personally, for Dave and I, we really work hard to make sure that our master bedroom is a place that is easy to relax in, that we wake up and just start the day on a positive note, and we take care of each other. After all, hospitality starts with a family. The master bedroom itself was very easy. We simply painted the walls the repose gray. We already had the new windows, and we brought in some nice new carpet that really brought this whole master suite together. This master bedroom was really fun to put together, and I wanted to make sure that we were able to create a space that we had as a seating area, because it really gives people, that feeling of it being an actual master bedroom. And usually people spend time in their master bedroom more than they would maybe in another bedroom, just because it's a place that they linger, that it's like their private retreat. So in this space, I had to be really careful not to overload it with furniture. So I got a nice gray bed from Wayfair, as well as end tables. I brought in the white lamps from Kirkland's that look a little bit like a coastal cottage look. I kept it very clean and very simple on the end tables. And one of the tricks that I like to use to keep that airy look in a bedroom, especially the master, is to use a white comforter and use the white shams, and then bring the color in the pillows. So in this particular room, the chair and the lamp were both from Wayfair, and we created that little reading space. The table next to it was from Kirkland's, the white bedding from Home Goods, end tables, as I mentioned, Wayfair, and then I added some white tulips to give it just that nice soft look without being over feminine. And it just created a beautiful space that I think people would say they would love to retire in at the end of the day. Wow, that was just so fun and actually inspiring to see the befores and the afters together. And Dave, sometimes I think like, oh my goodness, how did we do this? Mm-hmm. It is such a dramatic change, but it's so satisfying. Creating hospitality is a real priority in our lives, and I know it is for you too. And we want to share with you some practical ways that we purposefully develop hospitality in our home.
Sure. One of the ways we develop the hospitality is we think about our friends that are going to join us. And Karen, you were so great at thinking about their particular taste in maybe music or food, but it starts even before that. We'll actually pray for our friends. And our goal is to bring them into an atmosphere where they feel loved and we add value to them. And one of the ways that we do that is that we're emotionally present. We listen to them. We want to hear about their life. We want to maybe look for an opportunity to pray with them if they want to pray about something in particular. But then we think about the beautiful attributes of even the lighting. You're really great at dimming the lights and
all the candles
you're lighting around, and the home just begins to take on this beautiful atmosphere, which we kind of do this for ourselves.
We do.
But we make sure we do it for our friends. We have some nice music going in the background. And so when they come into the house, they feel loved in.
Yeah.
We're very hospitable. We've got something nice and cool for them to drink, like this wonderful tea. Oh my goodness. And they just relax. They sit back. They're home.
Do. Yeah, and I think another thing that's really important to create that hospitality in a home is to listen to the guests. That's one thing that we're really purposeful about. It's not a time for us to just unload all of our ideas or share everything that's happening in our life, but we really purposefully listen to them, and we want to hear how their life is going. Then if they ask us about ours, it's great. But you know, people feel loved when they know that you care about them, and that's really a foundation for hospitality.
It really is. And sometimes we have our thoughts on, well, I wonder what they think of us, or I wonder what they think of our house. But we try to stay at the forefront. We try to think about how do they feel about themselves when they're in our home.
Yes.
And so at the end of the night when they leave, we want them to feel really like valued, and we want them to feel like strengthened, and it was just a joyful experience.
You know, there is a saying, I don't remember, it's some quote, I don't remember who said it, but people remember how you made them feel. And that's really the bottom line for hospitality, and it's really something that presents God's love, and that's really important to us.
Yes.
So we hope you have been blessed and inspired even for your own projects through this Coastal Cottage series. And remember, let your friends know about liftable.tv, and please visit our website at KarenConrad.net. Thank you again for joining us on Sweet Tea Hospitality. I'm Karen Conrad, and we'll see you next time on Sweet Tea Hospitality.
And where can they go to download this amazing iced tea? Oh my goodness.
Did you actually drink it?
I did.
He did. I was like, no, what's he doing?
I like Stubbs barbecue, and even diluted is pretty tasty.